Okay, yep, there we go. Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming miniature live stream. Okay, I got my camera uh, up. Well, we're going to be painting these French Napoleonics. But before we get started, come on, focus. What's going on here? I don't have the focus turned off, do I? There we go. I'm going to tilt the camera up just a little bit, just so you can see what I'm doing. But I can leave it down here. It's no big deal. You know, whatever. I don't know which way to go. But I basically need to pack a couple of boxes before I get started. Also, I got my AK shipment in last night. Right here. I'm going to open that up as soon as I get everything. As soon as I get everything packed. So just bear with me, guys, please. There. Here, let's open this. Like I got 3 packages that I got to put together. One of them is the Victrix Norman Cavalry. All right. What do I do with those? Oh, okay. They're not here. Well, I'm still off camera, but you can see me over here. Yep, this is the Victrix box. Norman Infantry. 3 lat Norman Cavalry. You're this pink one, right? Yep. Okay. These boxes. Right. One of them is a book. It is Battle Group Overlord D-Day. You It shouldn't take very long. Only got 3 things to pack. Then we can get started. Scheduled it early this morning because Norman Cat boxed up. Ways. I'm having to reach around this camera to get to my computer. That's all right. So, I cooked some eggs this morning and ate them, but it put me a little bit behind because the pot, or I should say the pan that I was using was not our best pan. We've got like a dozen different pans, and I just grabbed one and then started using it and didn't realize it's kind of old. It's not as non-stick as it used to be. So I spent a little time cleaning it. Right, so and there's tiny little figures. I like to do, put them in a blister. I had gotten figures in personally in the past. Then I just put them in an envelope. Gotta be like 1 ounce. Austin, Texas. I'm not reordering these bubble mailers ever again because, first of all, they're super sticky on the inside. Well, not sticky, but they you got to get in there with your hand and kind of separate. And then the closure is not made properly. Sticky or adhesive part of it is in the wrong place. So what I'll have to do is I'll fold it over and I'll have to put my own tape. Like getting caught on the little bubbles on the inside. So I'm going to use up the ones I have, and then when I reorder, I'll reorder from that other company. Got some big ones from that are super perfect. I mean, this books just slide right in. See, it sticks, but then look at this. It's ridiculous. Whoever designed what he was doing. which a lot of times I'll tape an envelope closed anyway, just because I don't like relying on the Dylan sticks. Am I undercharged for that? Sorry. Is it 9? Yeah. Oklahoma. Noble. That is. I used to live in Oklahoma. I used to live in a small town called Woodward. That is. Woodward. Okay. Okay, we're going to be taking a look inside this box here first before we get started. Painting. Today I want to start with the actual red. I'd gotten that out and saying that's what I want to start with. Okay, so this is from AK. I got one shipment from AK a couple of weeks ago, and in that shipment, or in that package, there was some candy. So I'm wondering, is there going to be any candy in this one? I know I'm crazy. There we go. There's the AK box. Gracias. And thanks. Merci. They're trying to be international here. Even though they are a Spanish company. Okay. All right, AK. I ordered, I don't think I ordered any sets. I think I ordered a bunch of individual paints. And this box here is like twice as big as the box I ordered before. Or the paints I ordered before. Nice. Interesting. I don't know what that is, but we'll dig it out and look at it. Oh, okay, that's cool. But wrapping paper. Toss. Look at this, a bunch of gifts. Okay, so we got another thing of candy. I'm super excited, you know, little gummies. I love them. I like gummies. But there's an AK Christmas ornament. Look at that. Is that not cool? I mean, it's not like super expensive or anything, but it's just like cool. I'm gonna hang it right here. Probably can't see that, but yeah, hang it right there. Right there in my spinner paint. I'm not done. There's actually another gift in here, it looks like. Okay, this box is coming apart, but that's okay. An AK keychain. It looks like a bottle, or one of their pink bottles. It's rubber, obviously, but that's cool. That's very nice of them. Okay, here we go. Paint wise, what do we got? French grayish blue. I needed it. French grayish blue. Didn't need it right, this minute, but I did need it. That's a good color for Italians, actually. All right, and then inside there's this box, which has the other 12 paints that I ordered. Okay. I went straight to this one. Radiant Flesh. Okay. All right, Radiant Flesh. What's this? Salmon. I thought that was flesh, actually. Salmon. This doesn't look red enough. It actually looks more like flesh. I don't know. Weird. Oh, here's one. Light Flesh. That looks dark. If you had to guess, which one would you say was light? I would say this is, but this is radiant. Whoa. But this light flesh actually kind of looks like barbarian flesh. This looks like a really good flesh color. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. Okay, my fingers are starting to hurt. Is that all my flesh? Okay. We got a buff, which I have a buff out right here that I was going to use. I guess we're going to use the AK. What was I going to paint buff? I know the arid earth I was going to use for the garlic. What was I going to paint buff? I don't remember. Huh. We'll get back to it. Okay, so we got granite, which is another gray, but it's more of a neutral style gray. I like. Thought I needed it. I've got the Dunkelgelb Ausgabe, which I think it means alternate, right? Like an alternate Dunkelgelb. This one's 1944. It looks like it's got a little bit of gray in it. Maybe I gotta look up, see what Ausgabe means. Dunkelgelb just basically means gold, like dark gold. This is the Dunkelgelb initial, and this is Dunkelgelb Osk, and you can see it's kind of like got a very It's very dark. No. I'm putting all the ones I just got in up here because Sunday night when I do the store news update, I can say this is what I've gotten in. Okay, what do we got here? Orange brown. Okay, it's not orange tan, it's actually orange brown, which does look more brown than orange. And we got a chat from David and Ed, it looks like. David is saying, or no, which one did I click on? Yeah. Wait. I'm clicking on David's chat and Ed's chat's popping up. What's going on with this? Okay, so Ed, let's just read that. It says, good morning, got to do something about breakfast, but thought I'd say hi. This stuff to pop in my feed watching the field gray bit. All right, yeah, that field gray bit, yeah. Thanks. What happens if I click actually Ed's? His doesn't show up. Okay, let's refresh this and see if that has anything to do with it. Okay, well, I'm clicking on my own good morning and Dave's pops up. But it does say good morning from Northern Virginia. All right. Hey. Hey, David, how you doing, man? All right, so we got some basalt gray, which is, I already have some, like, a ton of grays up here. But I was looking through some of the paint sets that they have, and basalt was a choice for some of their figures. Yeah. Okay, what is this guy? Oh, Russian uniform base. The only Russian uniform color that I have is the Vallejo, and I wanted to try out some alternatives like AK. I'm starting to fall in love with AK. I've gotten a few of their colors, and they really are good. Okay, so what do we got here? Smoke black. Okay, I tried the rubber black. It just wasn't gray enough. It had some gray in it, but it just wasn't gray enough. But it's good for other things like Shakos and stuff like that. So I don't dislike this color. It's just not rubber, or what I want to paint my tires with. And then I saw this smoke black, and I thought that might be actually a really good tire color. But I don't know. We'll have to experiment with that, because I've been using this Vallejo Model Air tire black, which is good. It's just Model Air, which means it's thin. Okay, there's a gray green. That gray green. It kind of looks like German camo khaki. Yeah. Might have to figure out what that looks like on a figure. And lastly, last one out of this package, white gray. As you can see, I've got a couple of white grays right here. This one is called silver gray, and this one is pale gray blue. And I wanted a color to help with some of my white horses. And I don't want to just paint them white. You know, I could put a dirt wash on them or whatever to darken it up. But even white horses have this little bit of a gray, you know, almost like the Scots Greys. They're called that because they're horses. Okay. And this is a white gray. It's a little bit, not a little bit, it's a lot whiter. It's like a super light gray because it's more white than these guys. All right, but I'm not using those right now. All right, now we're ready. We're cooking with Crisco. We're ready to start painting. What I'm going to do is get rid of this chat dock. Refresh the widget. I'm going to bring the dock back up. Oh, reset docks. I didn't know there was a button there. I could have done that. Okay, Ed, let's see if your chat pops up. Yes. David, let's see if your chat pops up. Yes. Okay, that's all it took was to reset that. Nice. Nice. Okay, so got so many different things that I want to do with these figures. There's a few things that I want to do before I do the. I'm trying to figure out what was I going to use this buff on. I don't know what I was going to use buff on. Okay, no worries. Let's go ahead and I'm going to have to dig out like a very fine tip brush. Maybe not one of these guys. This guy's pretty fine tipped. Yeah, it's already like what, the 8th? Yeah, it's already the 8th of the month. And I haven't done my monthly brush cleanings. A close-up look at this brush. Yeah, it needs to be reconstituted or refixed. It needs to be fixed. Yeah. Now that is. Yeah. So we're gonna. I think I'm gonna pull out a new brush from my brush set. How thick of a brush do I think I need for these collars? Not a 5, that's probably way too thin. These guys are super thin. That guy, I don't know why he's in this case. He's been used before. I'm aiming for a 3-0 is what I'm looking at. I've got a 3-0 right there, but looks different. Like this is probably around. I think that one's going to work. Where this one here is a point. It's a different type of head. Okay. Yep, we're going to go deep red. I'm using the intense paint lines because I want to see what that's all about. Okay, why is it not attached? Okay, hold on. Bear with me just a moment. I think my Twidget died. Yeah, it did. All right, we got David saying that it looks like he's having some coffee in the morning and he's working on a model of a bone golem from WizKids, while his British 8th Army Infantry from Warlord dry. Oh, okay, so you're like multitasking. That's good. I tried that once. Usually when I paint like 10 models or more, the first one is usually dry by the time I get to the last model. When I'm doing colors, like in this case, by the time I get to like the third or fourth stick, the first stick should be dry. So who do you think would win between your British infantry and the bone golem? I think it would be the British infantry. Okay, I'm painting with my tongue out. Virtually, I don't really have my tongue out. And you can't see it because I got this thing pulled in nice and close. Even if I scooch up. Okay, maybe if I scooch up, you could see me. Yeah, this is the most time-consuming part of these models. It's going to be their collars and cuffs. I used to think it was the straps, but those actually go pretty quick. I'm just doing all the collars first, and then I'll come back and do all the cuffs. Okay. Collars. This is the very first time I've ever used this AK Intense Red. Never opened it before, never used it, and I'm already loving it. I'm like, this is the perfect color for this. Perfect. I did all the fronts of the collars first, and now I'm going to kind of do the backs. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do the collars now was so that if I accidentally got some on the greatcoat on the back of their backpacks, it'd be okay, because I still haven't painted those yet. Getting in there and getting behind everything is a little tricky. Especially when there's a chin strap hanging down in the way. Okay, brush. So if I accidentally get it on the back, not the backpack, but the bedroll, it's okay. Is that as they say. Okay, that's a little bit of a tricky spot to get into. I got it. Because I am perfect in every way. That's a lie, but anyway, that's a sling. Worried about the slings because I'm going to paint those like almost last. Almost. Okay. Might have to spend some time cleaning my brushes. I like to do that once a month, close to the start of the month, just to make sure that my brushes are refreshed and ready to go for the month. It looks like, well, I know for a fact that I didn't do it for December yet. And I'm starting to see that a couple of my brushes need that refresher. I did a video, I think I did a video on refreshers, like how to refresh your brushes. I might not have, but basically I get a coffee cup. I actually have a coffee cup that I use for my brushes. And I boil some water. And I put it in the coffee cup. And then I take my brush and I dip it in there. Swirl it around, but I don't leave it in there. Just enough to get the paint hot, any like paint residue that's on the brush. And then I put it in my brush soap. I've got this tub of brush soap. It's kind of like toothpaste. No, I don't know. Kind of like saddle soap. Looks a lot like saddle soap. And I swirl it around in there, getting all the bristles covered in soap. And then I rinse off the soap in that hot water. And then after it gets rinsed off, I kind of pinch the brush between my fingers. I like to let them my finger joints, like my knuckle. I'll put the brush in a knuckle, and I'll use my knuckle as the as a forming tool. And get it to repoint and no matter how much rinsing, well, no, I'm not going to say no matter how much rinsing because that's a lie, but I only rinse the brush like once in the hot water, so that kind of leaves a little bit of the soap on the brush, so that when I form it in my knuckle, a lot of times the soap will build up on the back of my knuckle. And so every time I put a brush through there, it gets a little bit of that soap put back on the brush, which actually kind of not seals it isn't really the word I'm looking for, kind of gives it a little tackiness so that when it's formed, it'll hold its form, it'll stay formed. Okay, now when it comes to the Grenadiers, I know for a fact they have red collars and cuffs. But the Voltigeurs, I'll have to double check and remind myself if it's yellow or green or red. And sometimes different units use different collars and cuff colors for their Voltigeurs. So I will do them last. Yeah, I'm starting to get worried. One of my commissions has been finished for a while now, and I haven't heard back from this customer in, I want to say 2 months. So this afternoon, I'm going to write him again. But this time, it's going to be basically letting him know that, hey, I haven't heard from you, man. What's going on? Are you, has anything happened? Or are you, trying to find out if something's happened to him? He's in the police force. And, he might be just, like busy. He also might have something else going on. But after 3 months, if I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume something's happened. You know? Yeah, it's hard to get down in there behind the back of the neck in front of the greatcoat. But that's why I haven't painted the roll on the top of the. Because I'm like not even concerned if I get it on the bedroll. Greatcoat. Okay. Boop boop be doop. Starting to second guess what I'm doing here. Okay. So my wife's going to an event this weekend. Just tomorrow. I think it's just a day event. I don't know which one it is. I've been out of touch with the SCA for such a long time that I don't know what's going on. That's her bag nowadays. Trying to get the lighting just right and the angle of the brush just right so that I can get in there and hit it. All right, those guys. Again, we're just doing colors right now. Well, before I continue, I'm going to check something online. That answered that question. Right. I refreshed my coffee. Actually that's cocoa. Right before the video started, I put it in the microwave to heat it up, and it was like steaming, and it's already cold. Oh goodness. I just go more colors. Oh yeah, that's right. This time I think I'm going to add a drop or two of water. One drop's good. A lot of times red will not coat or cover certain primer colors. So a lot of times, like let's say you prime black, you need to go in and paint areas white before you put red or yellow on there, just to make sure that those colors shine through. Well, in this case, I primed white, so I'm not having that problem. This red is coming through just nicely. Basically, I'm painting like the four quarters of the collar, like front left, front right, back left, back right. The back left is always the hardest, it seems. Because the musket, the hair, backpack, like a tight fit back there. Sorry if I'm not being very talkative. If you've got a subject or a question or topic that you want to discuss, put it in chat. I have decided I say this, but that's really, uh, I'm saying this with a caveat that I say I've decided blah, blah, blah. And then like a month later, I change my mind, right? Because I want my Napoleonic rules when I write them to be the last rules for Napoleonics that I will ever need. Between rules or whatever. Well, I've decided, with the caveat, that I'm going to do Meg basing or Field of Glory basing, if you want to look at it like that, because Field of Glory actually has a Napoleonic set of rules. I actually was part of the playtest for that. It was open. It wasn't like anything special. It was like, hey, we're doing this Napoleonic set. If you want to help us participate in the playtest, download these rules, play a few games, and tell us what you think. You know, and that's all that was. And I downloaded the rules and I read them and I was like, nope, this is not for me. Mainly because it reminded me of Field of Glory too much. Which it should, because it's Field of Glory Napoleonics. But I was going through a period at that time where Field of Glory was had a very bad taste in my mouth. I don't know if I told you guys this. I think I did, but for those of you that didn't get this story, I bought Field of Glory many years ago, like when it first came out. 4 or 5 or 6 or 8, something like that, different army list books. I love everything that Osprey does. So I thought, okay, this is going to be a good ancient set of rules, you know, because DBA, I hated. I did not like DBA at all. I don't like any of the WRG rules. And so I said, hey, Field of Glory. So I got Field of Glory, and I got a bunch of the Army List supplements and stuff, and read the rules, and I was like, okay, this is pretty straightforward. It's a little complicated and a little hard to wrap your head around, but it's not terrible. I mean, it was better than some other rules that I played. I had played Armati, and I liked Armati, but it felt like it was too basic. Like there just wasn't, I didn't feel like I don't know. The way the modifiers worked and stuff, I didn't like. I'm actually, I loved the set of rules. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. It was fun to play and everything. But it just left me lacking. So I got Field of Glory. And I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I like it. Let's start building some armies, etc., etc. And I played a few games in the local store. And this would have been after I sold the store to oh, wait. Yeah, those guys don't. Okay, right. Yeah, I sold the store. I used to own my own store. And I moved on, and so, but I would still visit the store and participate in tournaments and games and stuff like that. And I would run games down there and stuff. I'm not out of the hobby, you know. I'm just out of the. I'm just not the owner of the store anymore. And it was fun, you know. It was. It was again. It was. I felt like it was just a little bit hard to explain the rules to a new player. And that. Whoa! What am I doing? Hold on, we got to clean that off. Somehow, I made a big mistake here. Okay, I think this mistake was just too big. I'm gonna have to. No, okay, it's coming off. I had accidentally put some red on the top of that Shaco. It just went bonk. But it's all right now. It's alright. So, um, so playing, you know, owning it and playing it and everything, I was like, okay, you know, it's the best I could find. It was best on the market or whatever. I still had reservations about it because of the complexity of teaching a player that's not played before, you know, the theories and the concepts and stuff. So, a group of my friends and I went to a convention called Historicon. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's one of the biggest conventions for historical miniatures, and it's up in the East Coast, Gettysburg area, Pennsylvania. So my friends and I got in a car and drove up there, got a hotel room, and we're excited, you know. I played a game of British Grenadier. I didn't do well, but I thought the mechanics was pretty interesting, and I didn't know anything about the rules because I was, you know, I never played before. So I went out and bought the rules for British Grenadier. So that was a good sales pitch by the British Grenadier guys. They didn't actually, they didn't work for British Grenadier, and they didn't try to sell me the rules. But it worked, right? So I bought the rules and all that. But they had this tournament downstairs in the basement, in the parking garage or wherever this place was. I don't know. It looked like a cluttered warehouse is what it really looked like. But we were down there and they were running a Field of Glory tournament. And I was like, oh crap, Field of Glory tournament. I'm going to hang around and watch a few games and see if I'm doing the game right. See how other people play the game and get a feel for it and stuff like that. So I sat down and watched a game or two or three or four, right? It only took a few minutes for me to realize the Field of Glory community was not the community I wanted to be a part of. They were all rude. Literally all of them. Everyone that I sat and watched play their games, they were all rude. They were rules lawyers. It is a tournament, so I kind of get that. I get the fact that, they're trying to win a tournament, so. But there was no sportsmanship. There was no fudging. There was no, handshakes. At the end of the game, there was no, good game. Or, wow, that was a tough game, and I appreciate what you tried to do there, but I got lucky and defeated you, and there was none of that. It was like, you suck. You're the worst player. I can't believe you're actually in this tournament. Just frickin' move your miniatures. I don't care. I don't want to know who you are. And I was like, damn. These guys are all acting like DBA players. There's no humanity in them at all. And I was like, the first game I just said it was a fluke, oh, well, these guys are just jerks. Let's try another game. Went and watched another game. Same thing. I watched 4 games, and they were all the same. Everybody was being a dick. And I was like, nope, that's not the game for me. The players ruined the game for me, is what I'm saying. And I said, I don't want to, fall into this black void. I want to play a game like when I was playing my Armati games. Everybody's laughing and having fun and complaining about getting beat or whatever, and or throwing shade or whatever is fine, but not hurtful or not it was all good ribbing or whatever. That's fine. Shit talking's okay, but damn. Don't be rude about it. It kind of made me want to put my armies away, which I did. I put them away, and actually I sold them. If I remember right, yeah, I know I did. I sold all those armies. I had 3 or 4 armies. nothing, and they were small because Field of Glory, you don't really have a whole lot of figures. But I had like an English 100 Years' War. I had a Roman army, Republican, I do believe. And I think I had the startings of a Macedonian army. And kind of like what I'm doing now with my Meg armies. I think I had started a Carthaginian army as well. No, maybe not. Maybe those were the only three I had. And I've always liked that period, or liked that the battle style and, historical period. So I've always had a love for that, like the Romans and the Celts and the Macedonians and the Spartans and all that. And then I saw this game called Meg. Thought I'd give it a chance. And I fell in love with a set of rules. Mainly, I think what really turned me into a Meg lover has nothing to do with the mechanics or the rules or any of that, because those are all good, don't get me wrong, but I'm sitting in my living room with the rule book in my lap, watching a football game or something. I don't remember exactly. I think it was a football game. And I'm reading the rules. We're trying to. It's hard to do because I was paying attention to the game. And I had the compendium edition. And one of the first things in that rule book is a biography, I guess, of the author. And everything in that biography I could identify with. Like what he was saying about the type of games he likes to play, and how he likes to, how he introduces his friends to gaming and all that kind of stuff. It was like striking a nerve with me. I was like, oh yeah, I feel the same thing. And then it got to then he started to talk about the rules, right? It's like an introduction to the rules. And it was only like a page, maybe 2 pages. But I was rolling. I was like laughing to a point where my stomach was hurting. Every time I'd read a paragraph, I would start laughing because of the way it was written. It was supposed to be funny. And there's a little bit of humor in every rule. There's a little bit of humor as it's written. And I'm like, okay, I love these rules. I love the author. I love the rules. I'm gonna dig deeper into these rules and actually try to analyze them and see if I actually like them. And I do. Okay, I think I see a couple new comments up here. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's see here. We got Ed saying, "You are braver than I. Try to stick to painting 10 minis at a time so I get at least a feeling of progress." Ed, you are not wrong. I learned this. What you're talking about, progress. I learned that when I first got into Napoleonics, I used to play a game called Napoleon's Battles. That was my go-to Napoleonic rules. And when I got deployed to Berlin, I I decided that I would get a bunch of figures and paint them while I was deployed. And I used to shop at a store here in Nashville called Games Extraordinaire. And I wrote them a letter and I said, you know, I'd like to order some Napoleonic figures. Can you hook me up? And they were like, yeah, we'll mail it to you. So I came up with this order for every single figure that I was going to need for Waterloo. So I had a couple of thousand figures that I needed to paint. And I took I would try to paint like a bunch of figures at once, and I would get frustrated that I wasn't making any progress, like what you were saying. I was like, man, I've got all these figures and I still have hundreds, literally thousands that need to get painted. And there's a rule, not a rule, I guess, I don't know what it is, a comment, a write-up of like what colors you need to paint like a French soldier. You know, paint his pants like this, paint his jacket like this, or whatever. And in that write-up, it says only paint one unit at a time. Don't try to paint like a whole division or a whole corps or whatever. Just do one brigade, because that's what their units were, 24 figures. And when you're finished, at that time, move on to your next brigade. And in no time, you'll have multiple brigades done and you'll be gradually making progress. And it said, psychologically, you will paint faster if you paint that way. Because when you finish a unit, psychologically, you'll have a sense of accomplishment and you will want that sense of accomplishment again, so you will paint another unit. And you will continue to paint units if you continue to get that sense of accomplishment. And so ever since I read that in that article, and I put all my figures away, and I only pulled out one unit at a time. And in no time, I had every unit at Waterloo painted. I say no time, but really it was like 2 years. Because I was doing a unit every 2 days, probably. It didn't really take me that long to paint just 24 figures in 15 millimeter. Hey, those guys' collars are done as well. And I'm not going to do these guys today. So yeah, if you're painting like a bolt action or a black powder, let's say you're playing a bolt action, a squad of British or whatever you're painting, then yeah, do 10 at a time. Like do one squad at a time. Knock them out, get them finished, then do another squad. I'm not painting these for myself. If I was painting these for myself, I would only be painting about this many figures. I'm painting this for a commission. Okay, well, the collars are done. Because the cuffs are not the only thing that are red as well. Like the grenadier plumes and cords. Actually, their cords are white, but yeah, let's do that. While I'm thinking about it, let's do the grenadier skull caps. Yeah, I thought I would do this red yesterday. Move on to other colors today. But I went to lunch. And then when I came back, a lot of things happened that I had to take care of. Basically, didn't get a chance to get back to the figures. I thought I was going to be painting all day yesterday. Didn't happen. Okay, those are the skull caps on those guys. Two more here that need skull caps. Okay. Change my brush. Excuse me, I've got a cough coming up. Got a scratchy throat. A little excessive. Let's go ahead and do the plumes. Basically, I'm going to use up this red on areas that need to be red, and then we'll move on to another color. There are multiple areas on these figures that are red, like the Grenadiers have this, and the Voltigeurs too. They have swords that have these little tassels that hang off of them. And they usually got a red tip, or they are solid red, or something like that. But I'm not going to paint the tassels until I'm done painting the swords. Sometimes there's like a red band around a shako or something like that. But that's only all these Grenadiers, I gave them bear skins. They have a cord, but I think the line Grenadiers were white cords. And the Grenadier Guards from the old guard, I think they had red cords. I'll double check. I'm not going to go off memory for minor details like that. Gotta look it up. Yeah, this intense red actually has a really good coverage. I painted it on top of the rubber black, and it looks good. And that's even with me adding a drop of water to it, thinning it out a little bit. I really expected it to be more deep. Like darker. AK is just surprising me over and over and over. Is Vallejo also Spanish? Because I know AK is Spanish. And I think Vallejo is also, maybe it's Italian. I don't remember. Alright. Okay, that's the Grenadier plumes for those 8 guys. 2 more right here. Yeah, this French starter army from Warlord comes with a number of infantry sprues, and there's only 1 elite figure per sprue and 3 other guys. So what winds up happening is you don't have enough elite to do both Grenadier and Voltigear for every unit. So you got to kind of thin it out a little bit. Do some Grenadiers in some, and some Voltigears in others. Yeah, I don't want to do the cuffs just yet. We're going to do those a little later. Collars are done. I have a feeling the artillery are supposed to have red pom-poms. I'm double check. Double check. What, right? What artillery uniformio? God, that's not right. I think that guy who painted it didn't do it right. No. Again. Okay. I check multiple sources, you see. I don't just go with one. I see orange, I see blue, And I'm trying to do Peninsula. Not the 1812. Here we go. 1804 to 1812. Everybody's wearing red. I see guard grenadiers have red cords. And that's right. Foot grenadiers use white. That's right. I was right. Okay, so the artillery should have red pom-poms as well. Because I got a little bit of red left, so I figured I might as well use it up. Use it or lose it, as they say. They would have red epaulets as well, but I'm not worried about that. Just like the grenadiers, they would have red up. I decided why not just go ahead and knock the epaulets out while I'm here for the artillery, because there's no reason not to. Not some color that I'm trying to paint first. Except on this guy, he's wearing a greatcoat. I'd like to paint the greatcoat first, so I'm not going to paint it. Okay, that's it for the red for now, because there's still red items that need to be painted later. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this arid earth by painting the onions, garlic. I don't know why I pulled the buff out, unless I was thinking I would do buff instead, because it is a little bit darker than this arid earth. But the wash is going to make this arid earth just the right color, so. Got to keep an eye on the clock. At 11 o'clock? Okay. So that I can put my packages out. Doing the onions. One-fourth of the figures should have onions. Just the way the army came with, you know, limited backpacks. Oh, and I never did look for my pewter color that I have. I think that I have somewhere hidden. Or these goblets. Some of these guys are carrying. Okay. That might require a second coat. Some of those onions had blue on them. And this arid doesn't like sitting on top of blue. Blue is shining through. I guess that would be a second coat. So, are onions good for you? Of course they are. They're vegetables. But I mean, like, what do they, why? What do they do for you? Do they spark your metabolism? Do they prevent, you know, gangrene? Or, I'm just making stuff up. What does an onion do for you other than kill your breath? I don't know if you know this, but garlic is like a natural bug repellent. Also, vampires don't like it. But I think that comes from the whole bug repellent thing. Uh, if you eat garlic, bugs will not bite you, like mosquitoes or whatever, because the garlic gets in your blood and it makes it unappealing to these insects and vampires. There we go. The second coat took care of it. What does onions do for you? None of those guys. Mentioned something yesterday. I said once I got past these collars, because that's such a time consuming aspect of these models, once I get past that, everything else is just going to start falling into place. I think you can see like how fast I'm going through these onions. think I'm going to pull that smoke black out and experiment with it a little bit in some of these pots and pans. And see if it's gray enough for tires. If not, if it's still kind of dark black, we'll just leave it on the pots and pans. But before I do that, I got to do the gray coats because they're under the pots and pans. I don't think any of the metal ones are going to have onions. Okay, before I start another color, I'm going to take the mail out, and then I'll be right back. Be back momentarily. Now David is saying, started some 15mm French that's been sitting on my shelf for the past 20 years. So I expect a winter storm this year. Oh, goodness. We're going to do some great coats. I don't know why I've got this buff out. Put it away. I've got gray uniform, and I've decided I'm not going to use gray uniform for my gray coats. Thought about it. I'm going to use another color. Called gray. This is brass, but I need to put some bronze on that. Yeah, it was just a little bit too thick. Needed to thin it out. Just after 11, huh? Line of a tip. I'm going with a big brush for these gray coats. A big old brush. I think this one's brush might just need to be DX'd. That's direct exchange for those of you that didn't know. Almost every one of these guys has got a greatcoat rolled on the top of his backpack. Take a minute. Now, early on, French were pretty well equipped. It was the late war stuff where they were lacking on proper equipment. So, early war stuff like the Peninsula, I don't mind painting everybody with the same color greatcoat. But in Waterloo, I use a variety of different browns and grays. So if James replies to my message in Discord, we might be making a fourth character tonight. There's another guy in Roll20, a couple of them, said they wanted to be in the game. I replied to them, then I don't get any further replies from them. So I don't know if they've received my message or if they accept, or anything like that. It's frustrating to get everybody organized. Once we get everybody organized, we'll be good. Once James gets his character done, I won't be pushing to get more players. Four is really all I need or want, but I don't mind going up to about 6. As long as they are all going to stick with the game and not bail after 2 or 3 sessions. Like what happened in Harn. Harn almost broke me. I like running games, and I don't mind putting in the effort to write a story and get all the handouts and everything ready and dedicate my hours on end to prepare a good game. I don't mind if the players reciprocate with a little bit of loyalty or not appreciation, but yeah, appreciation. And but that's not why I play. I play to have fun. And if the guys aren't having fun and they bail out of the game, it kind of makes me feel like my efforts were in vain. Like I tried to write a good story or tried to, make the game fun. And Harn was I felt it was fun. I liked the mechanics of the game. I had a good story. I thought I was telling a good story. And players were dropping like flies. Like they would come in, they would make a character, they would play 1 session or 2 and then never come back. Or they would disconnect from the game, And one of the players was super paranoid. He thought it was the game master's job to make it difficult for his character. That's not what the game master's job is. I'm telling a story. You're participating in the story. And you do something good, it'll work, and if you do something bad, it won't. So there was a couple of times, or one time specifically, that this player did something that I personally felt was paranoid. And so I probably rolled my eyes or made a facial expression or something that the player did not appreciate. He thought that I was picking on him. I think he had an emotional hang-up. That he couldn't separate the game from reality or whatever. Or he's just, what I mean by he's super sensitive. And he called me out. He said, got up from the table, which it's being streamed, so it's his own table. But so he gets up and walks around in the background of his camera, you know. And then he can hear us because he's got a headset on or whatever. And I tell him, hey, I'm sorry that, you know, feel like I was being a dick. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean to be a dick. I just personally think that you're being a little too paranoid. And his idea was, well, that's the way my character would act. And I was like, okay, well then, you know, then your character's being paranoid. Which, perfectly fine. I mean, nothing wrong with that. And he only lasted a couple more games before he quit. And there was another group of players that came in. 3 of them. They all seemed to be very nice, very polite gentlemen, and I was excited to have them in the game. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, let's back up. This is one before that. There was a guy that joined the game right as this other guy was quitting. And there was a little bit of a red flag, but I overlooked it. He said he wanted to try out a new game for a while and see if he see how it played. And by saying for a while, kind of made me think, the red flag made me think that he was only going to play for a while, like a couple of sessions. And that's exactly what happened. He played like 2 or 3 sessions and then quit. And I was like, wow, damn. And then these other 3 guys join. We got a full party again. And these 3 guys are all experts in the rules. When I say that, I mean they were all rules lawyers. This rule means this, and this does that, and X, Y, and Z. And it was kind of okay, you know, okay, hold on. I don't mind if you know the rules. That's perfectly fine. But you don't need to quote the rules during the game. I tried to tell these players that we're playing in the Harn world, but I've changed some things. Some people are not who you think they are. Or the government isn't what you think it is. And they were okay with that, or so they said. Except 2 of them bailed on the game. They just quit. And one of them, the most rule lawyery of all of them, stayed till the end, actually. And I had to write him privately a couple of times saying, hey, slow down, you know, ease up on the rules lawyering. You know, just, if I say the sky is red, then guess what? The sky is red. Or if you go to this one city and the ruler's name is John, and don't come back to me and say, but the book says that the ruler is this guy named George. I told you the ruler's name was John. Yeah, but the book. Yeah, stop that. Right? And so I wrote him a letter a couple of times, because the first time it didn't sink in. But he kept doing it. And it was getting so frustrating that I wanted to kick him out of the game. I really wanted to kick him out of the game. But I allowed him to stay in the game because we needed the players. I was basically sacrificing for the good of the party, you know? And he also was constantly saying, why don't you do this or why don't you do that in the game, right? Like, use this program because it does this, or add this API because it does that. And I told him, I'm not using an API. He goes, why not? You know, they're good. They'll make your game better, you know, and stuff like that. And I tried to tell him, I said, no, stop. Stop trying to push this API, this third-party software, you know, onto me. I'm not using it. And it got to a point where I just said, screw it. I'm not running this game anymore. I can't take it anymore. And so I tell him, I tell everybody, you know, hey, we're ending the campaign. The campaign's over with. I'm not going any further with this. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so pushy. I'll stop. It's a little too late. This is the third attempt and you're still pushy, so. And then he has the gall to say, well, if you start the campaign back up or, you know, you're going to play again, let me know and I'll... No, I'm never going to invite you again. You're not a bad dude. As far as I know, you're a nice guy. You're just extremely pushy and a know-it-all. So then, also in the background, while we were running this harm game, I had two people, one in my game and one not in my game, say, I really want to play Traveler. I wish you were running Traveler. And it basically made me, it gave me like an excuse to stop the harm game. Right? It was like, okay, I'm just going to switch to Traveler. Got people asking me to play Traveler, and I want to run Traveler, so let's go ahead and do it. And as a little anecdote, a little side note, I'm looking for a Traveler calendar that I can put on my screen so that I can track time passage for the players. Right? It's not super important, but I just like to know what day it is. And so I'm Googling this, and I find that there is a program out there to do the Traveler calendar, the Imperial calendar. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is exactly what I want. And then I noticed it's an API that you have to add to your game. And I was like, oh, wow, an API. Well, I normally don't use them, but I'll make an exception this time. How do I add an API? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I said, how do I add this API to the game? Well, first of all, you have to be this max level subscriber. And I'm like, oh, well, I can't add APIs anyway. So even that guy that wanted me to add an API, I have a feeling that he was just trying to get me to become a max subscriber. Because he has financial a financial stake in that. Don't need to go any further with that, but yeah, so so now looking back on it, I'm thinking, well, maybe he was just trying to get me to be a max subscriber. And he kept pushing and he kept pushing. Finally, he got kicked. And all of us, we're all old men, and we're all talking about how many different games we played and like what uh like we played first edition D&D and we played Chaosium and RuneQuest and a bunch of other like Paranoia, a bunch of super old games, and we basically shared our gaming experiences with each other. But then it got to a point where these guys, these three that I'm talking about, were you could say one-upping. They were constantly trying to one-up me, which that's not hard to do. They would say, well, I was like best friends with the game designer, or yeah, we used to hang out together, and I played games with this guy, or I know this author and he wrote books for this game, and I don't care about any of that. I mean, it's cool. I'm glad you told me. But they would keep mentioning it. Like, oh yeah, did you know that I used to write this module, or I wrote this thing, or I did this thing? Yes, you told us that 20 times already. Oh, I just want to make sure you knew. That's why I'm suggesting this API, because it helps me in my games, and I wanted to help you in your games. Higher. So by all of that transpiring, almost broke me. It got me to thinking like, I don't even want to role play anymore. I'm gonna drop out of Mason's D&D game. I'm gonna drop out of Harn. I'm gonna stop role playing, and I'm just gonna stick with miniatures. You know, I need that. I need these extra hours to paint anyway, because at the time I was falling behind. I was like, I spend a lot of time like preparing the role playing games and stuff, writing stories, getting the tokens ready and the maps ready, and I was like, if nobody appreciates it, or if it's constantly being under, underhanded, or what am I trying to say? Undermined, then why bother raking myself over the coals? Why don't I just get away from that? But then the request to play Traveler came around, and they said, man, I really wish you were running Traveler. That would have been a good game to be playing in. I was like, you know what? Let me let me uh let me run some Traveler. Now we haven't really started. We've only made a couple of characters. But I've already had 4 people drop out. I had 7 to start. And I actually had a lot more. I probably had closer to 11 people ask to play, and I put the word out that I'm not taking any more. I've got too many already. You know, we stopped at 7, which might or might not have been a mistake, because one guy dropped out before we even started. One guy didn't show up to the game. He just didn't show. Another guy disappeared during character creation. And then one guy said his work prevented him from coming to the character creation. So we lost 4 people. We were down to 3 from 7. That's a little frustrating. And then the guy that was off at work said, I'm just going to quit. I don't, because I don't want you to wait for me, or, I don't want to draw, hold you back or anything. And I heard you didn't like me anyway. And this is one of the guys I played D&D with. Like, where did you hear that? I've never said that. Now, you can be annoying, right? This guy's got a little bit of a I think he's a little wild. He's always trying to break the rules. He never just conform. But I don't dislike him for that. It adds a different kind of like a different element to the game. I don't have any problem with it. It does bug me a little bit, but that's the least of my problems. So I told him, no. If you want to play, play. Don't worry, we can make a character on another day. And work happens, life happens, at least you told me. You didn't just not show up. So I re-invited him. See, and then I'll message him. I messaged him this morning saying, when's a good time for you to play or to make a character? And he said, anytime. I'm pretty much available anytime. So I was like, what about tonight? And I'm waiting to see if there's a response. And then there's other people that wrote me on Roll20 that said, oh, I'd like to play in your game. And I was thinking to myself, oh, that's excellent. Wait a second. Did I not paint that guy's onions? I didn't. Huh. Okay. The one guy says, I want to play, but I can't play on the day that you're playing. Can you switch to another day? Yeah, like I'm going to switch to another day just for you, and then you're going to play one session and quit. And then I'm going to be on this odd day. No, I said no. Another guy says, I want to play, but I can only play every other week. No, wait, back up. He can play every week, but every other week he'll be like an hour and a half late. And I was like, no, thank you. Now, just so you know, when I sent out the invites, I created a post that I copy and pasted into every invite, right? I mean, that's what you would expect. If you don't expect that, then what's your problem, you know? So I said, I'm looking for players, play Traveler on this day, you know, at this time, and I see that you might be interested, and that's true because I went through to see the different people and who's interested in Traveler and not. I said, I see you might be interested. If you're interested in that, write me back, and then we'll get you started, and we'll make characters and all that jazz. So I copy and paste that into all these different messages, which I really only sent about 10, maybe less, because some people I just wasn't going to invite. Like, I read their profile and I was like, nope, that guy's not for me, you know. But this one guy replies saying, oh, thank you for sending me a form letter. Yes. You're not saying anything that I don't already know. Yes, it is a form letter and exactly what I meant to do. He's like, not, you know, I'm not going to be able to play. I don't think you would like me or whatever. He was basically saying what a bad person he was. And I was like, well, okay then. And then when I lost all those players, this is something completely different. When I lost all those players from Traveler, I went into my Roll20 and I deleted them from the game, right? Because they were already invited to the game, but now they're not. And as soon as I did that, I didn't realize that it was going to do this, but it did it. It automatically made the game active for recruiting again. And then moments later, like within the same day, maybe even the same, I mean, it was fast. Got people replying saying, oh, I see you're running Traveler. I'd be interested in playing. So we've got a couple of people in the wings that might or might not be interested. And then one of the players is some friends that he plays other games with, I suppose. And he recommended that they should come check out the game. So we'll see how that turns. He actually invited one guy that only had a phone. Luckily, the way I'm running this campaign won't be too hard like it was in Harn. In Harn, it was very hard to add someone mid-story. That was another thing that was frustrating me. I was having to constantly retcon, what had happened in the story to allow new players to join the party. And it got to a point where I was like, I just can't do that anymore. We've gotten so far into the story that now it would just ruin everything if I have to retcon this again. But luckily in Traveler, that's not really the case. You could jump in and be a part of the crew at any time, pretty much. Now this bandage has been on a little while, starting to come off, starting to slide. So I think I need to replace it. I've been holding it together with a cozy, keeping it in place where it doesn't land. This one as well. Um, so I'm going to need to reapply the medicine, the polysporin or whatever it is, and the a new bandage. Thought I was going to do these backpacks like super fast, but I guess still just takes a minute to do everything. Also, um, while painting, um, I can't sit here for like 8 hours and paint. Mainly because my eyes start to get tired. And then I start to get blurry. And that's not good for painting. What I'll do is I'll paint for 2 or 3 hours. And then I'll take a break and then come back to it. We've been painting for about 3 hours now. Maybe a little less. Almost lunchtime. So there might be a live stream tomorrow. Um, because I'll be home alone. Actually, I won't be home alone. I'll be home with my son. But I'll be home, so I should be able to do some more painting tomorrow. And if I'm going to be painting, I was thinking I could be streaming. So I'm thinking this afternoon, actually. I probably won't. I was going to say I could probably eat some lunch and then turn the camera back on. But I probably won't do that. I'll probably just paint. You know what I just thought of? I think I already painted the Voltigears backpack. Okay, that's this guy right here. But there's probably two right there that I've already painted. And I haven't painted their collars yet. So I'm not going to paint those backpacks until after I get the yellow on them. Just dawned on me. Something I might do a little later is actually clean my brushes. Might do that later. Not this. Now this stick is a little heavy because these are all metal miniatures. Drummers, metal standard bearers. So I did start the poll on the channel, guys. So if you go to the community tab, you'll find the poll. I'd appreciate a response. I'm asking for my ancients for the store, you know, or which one you like, or what do you play with personally, base sizes. Like, are you shopping for figures that are on 25mm round bases for skirmish games like SPQR? Or are you looking for games that require square bases? Or are you more of a mass combat person that has their ancient figures mounted on multi-figure bases? And which size do you use? Use the Hail Caesar 40mm square, or do you use the meg rectangles? Without looking at the poll, I'm kind of anticipating it's saying 40 millimeter square Hail Caesar. And that's all well and good. But I want you to know, well, I appreciate any vote. But I'm considering basing some guys alternatively from the Hail Caesar default. Like maybe 60 by 30. Or maybe SPQR round. But I anticipate it being overwhelmingly Hail Caesar bases. But I could be wrong. That's what I'm checking. Because I bet you there's not a whole lot of people playing Meg in 28 millimeter, right? Or Field of Glory, or DBA. I bet you they're always playing it in 15 millimeter. But 28 millimeter is an option for playing Meg. I was wondering if that was something you guys would be interested in. Okay, so I'm not done with this gray because I'm going to need it for my Voltigears once I get their yellow collars. Now, instead of using this bronze, thinking about using this bronze. A lot darker. Because I'm going to do the cannon real quick. Just the gun. Just the barrel. It shook up, but for some reason didn't mix the lid. All right, let's shaking that up just. It sounds like it's shaking up really. Yeah, Vallejo, made in Spain. Wow, okay, so Spain is all about the paint. AK and Vallejo both come from Spain. Army Painter is Dutch, Denmark, something like that. Denmark, yeah, right there. That should be enough. And if not, it's no big deal. Oh yeah, a lot, a lot gooder. Thick. That needs to be broken up. The bronze looks really good. I say that a lot about my paint jobs. I say, man, that looks really good. Oh, wow, that looks really good. Wouldn't be doing it if it didn't look really good. There you go. Bronze. All right, guys. Well, this is where we're going to call it for the day for the live stream. I may or may not be back tomorrow. Just depends. I would like to be back tomorrow. Will the bronze leaked out, maybe? Huh. And I'll after lunch, I'm going to paint a little bit more on these guys. If the world doesn't fall apart like it did yesterday. Yeah, and then I'll probably do the yellow on the Voltigear's collars so that I could do their backpacks, get caught up with everybody else's backpacks. Probably. I don't know where else I'm going to go next from there. Probably their hot in the back. You know what? I lied. I'm not going to disappear just yet. I'm going to use this smoke black just on one thing. These two guys right there. Just to see what it looks like on their utensils, their cooking pot. Okay, that came out like really black. And again, it's still wet. It's not dry yet. And I can see where there's a little bit of smoky gray in there as well. But I'm comparing it to the Shako to the pot. This pot looks a lot more black. Is that a word? A little shiny right now because, you know, it's wet. So you got to kind of wait for it to dry to really see the color. Okay, so I'm going to let those dry and kind of compare. It does have a different type of gray look to it. Not the rubber black. It doesn't look like smoke. Just got to let it dry. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. I may or may not see you tomorrow. Please check out the poll on the channel. If you want to reply, I'd appreciate it. And if not, I will be doing a video Sunday night, store news update, and then I'll see you again Monday.